Hello everyone, in this video I would like to take a look at Western media and the potency of their propaganda, specifically pertaining to how they try to paint workers fighting for a better situation in a negative light. Take a look at this.
Just focus on Christmas now. And I'm not being sentimental about this. You will know, because you keep an eye on the opinion polls, that many people who support your right to strike and who support your basic thrust and your cause are appalled that you're striking over Christmas, over this Christmas week. They feel that it's an act of almost sadism and unkindness. Whatever happened to Christmas kindness? Why couldn't you put all of these strikes, every single one of them, into January? Why do you have to target people at Christmas? Because you're going to be putting people out of business who run hotels, who run restaurants, who run bars and retailers. This is the time of year where they make their money, and you are robbing them of their income for the coming year. Many of them are saying they're going to go bust.
Well, we're not targeting Christmas. It isn't Christmas yet, Richard. I don't know when your Christmas starts, but mine starts on Christmas Eve. So we are striking at this time because we've not got a settlement.
Commercial Christmas starts in December. You know that perfectly well. You're being disingenuous.
It's not disingenuous, is it?
It is disingenuous. Of course it is.
Well, if you let me finish
commercial Christmas does not start on Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve is when people shut early. Don't be ridiculous.
Richard, you're just talking to yourself.
Commercial Christmas starts at the end of November and early December, and that's when people make their money, and you are depriving them of their income. That's the point.
Right. Have you finished then?
Well, will you answer the question, Mr. Lynch? And then I'll shut up.
Well, I have answered the question. So, well, OK, if you give me a minute, I will.
No, you said that Christmas started on Christmas Eve, and that's nonsense. I won't let you get away with nonsense. Well, Christmas does not start on Christmas Eve.
Richard.
So let's just be clear. It starts in early December, and that's what we're talking about.
Do you want to... Richard, why don't you just interview yourself if you want to talk to me?
Cheap point, Mr. Lynch. I'm holding you to account on behalf of the viewers, not on behalf of myself. I'm not interested in the sound of my own voice. I'd like to hear yours
You're just talking to yourself at the moment.
I'd like to hear yours answering the question.
Well, if you'd like to hear mine, why don't you stop talking for a second?
Because you won't answer the question, and until you do, I'll keep interrupting. It's my job. On you go. Job on.
Well, you can't interrupt me if you don't let me talk.
You just said... No, sorry, you just said that Christmas begins on Christmas Eve, and that has to be challenged. So, would you come back and answer the point about why you're taking the action over the weeks leading up to Christmas, destroying many people's Christmases?
Are you going to let me speak now?
Yes, please do.
Are you going to let me speak?
Yes, please do.
I told you that Network Rail will start imposing these changes from tomorrow, from December the 15th. They told us that 3 weeks ago. They told us that the consultation process had finished, and they will move towards implementation. So our strike action is in response to that. The strike action we're taking at Christmas is during the Christmas close down, where there will be no passenger services running after the evening of December the 24th. So that does not impact on Christmas, because the railway is closed down from the 25th to the 26th into the 27th. And that's when we're taking the action that you're referring to. This week's action was given with 3 weeks' notice, well in advance, so that we could get negotiations going, and we haven't actually had strike action for 8 weeks.
So that was a clip from Good Morning Britain, I believe, and it was, of course, obviously British media, but if you take away the accent, American media do the exact same thing, and that pertains to the vast majority, if not all, of Western main media pundits, or I guess a better word would be idiots. So this is interesting to me, and I chose to talk about this because obviously it's important, but we have or had a similar situation go on here in this country literally not that long ago. So the railroad workers in this country were threatening a strike, and what happened? Well, they got the hammer brought down on them. The government, allying with their employers, the leaders, the CEOs of the railroad companies, they got together to collectively basically shaft these workers. These workers, they weren't getting the kind of treatment that they obviously deserve. They couldn't get paid sick days off, as if that's something that you should even have to fight for. They weren't getting adequate, personal lifetime, with their families and kids. I'm willing to bet their pay wasn't as good as it should be, obviously, because they were asking for raises in many respects. We're currently going through an inflation. Britain, or the EU in general, is going through an inflation even worse than what we here in America are going through. So it skews any particular working person for asking for a higher wage or salary or whatever else. Since employers can just jack up the prices of anything since they have the ability to do that whenever they want, the workers can't ask for a raise because that's just stepping out of line. Give me a break. So that video was phenomenal to watch, not because the news person said anything of any worth, but it really shows you that they are entirely subservient to power. And power is the people that own the railroads. You know, these are industries or sectors of our economy, as many people have pointed out in previous videos that I've made, that are privatized. And they're when things are privatized, the main motive is to make a profit. And you don't make as much of a profit as you would if you were to give your workers paid sick days, if you were to give your workers higher wages, if you were to give your workers fill in the blank. And indeed, there's a problem with that. But in these leading capitalist societies that we've set up for ourselves, we see these recurring problems. And once again, this is a similarity because this situation is going on over in Britain. And as I just outlined for you, we had the situation go on here in the US. But returning back to the main matter at hand, this fact that the mass media serves as a mouthpiece for power, whether it be private industry, whether it be the government, whether it be different sectors of it, like the CIA or whatever the case, they serve power. And anything that they do, whatever situation that happens, they're going to take the side of those with the most authority. And that's extremely obvious. Just look at the way he was attacking the man for them going on a strike. And look at the eloquent response that he was able to provide. I mean, it really was just him ranting, as the man said in that video. He was just speaking to himself. He wasn't talking to him. That wasn't much of an interview at all. Okay? But that's what you get with mass media. And a person that's been very good at talking about this is none other than Mr. Noam Chomsky when speaking about the media and their purpose and how they frame conversations. I mean, just really listen. Go back and watch that and notice how he frames it. You know, you're hurting your fellow citizens by going on a strike because you don't like your situation. You know, you're robbing them, I think was one of the words he used. Why do this around Christmas time? You know what's funny about that? If they wait into January, they say, oh, it's the beginning of the new year. What are you doing? Okay, well, let's wait till February. It's Valentine's Day. People got to love each other. There'll always be an excuse, okay? And the reason for that is they don't want you to strike anyway. No, these are people, these pundits, particularly in this situation, that probably make pretty good money, a couple $100,000 a year. They're in a decent situation. Their family's okay. Everything's fine. And so they're cool with being puppets for, power and authority. They're cool with that. They're fine. And they want you to shut up and eat your crumbs and be content with your shit situation, okay? Because everything's fine for them. So why would they care about you? They're trying to, you see how they try to spin it to pretend like they care for the average citizen, right? And they pin us against each other. You see, look at these teachers that are striking. Now the kids can't go to school. You shouldn't do this. But then the teachers, if you look at what they're making, look at their living situations. A lot of these people are in destitute. I mean, none of this is ever explored. The government is never looked at. The rich and the powerful are never looked at. And you're forced to watch ridiculous jargon like this. But hopefully this was a bit educational, that video was, because I think it was a prime example of how Western media divides us as citizens and really tries to skew our way of thinking. Because I think the natural tendency of any person, of any ideology, is to have sympathy for those that would like to introduce a better situation by striking, by unionizing, by doing whatever. But of course, it is the media's job to make sure that you don't look at it that way. And they come out with things. They've done this throughout history. There are plenty of examples of it, of them antagonizing union movements and different social movements for whatever. And they try to put it in this veil of negativity as if it's something that should never happen. But in reality, they're the ones that are extremely wrong and on the wrong side of whatever debate. I mean, the media themselves, they're owned by like two or three people. This is extremely concentrated. And as I said in the beginning, they serve a very specific purpose. And I think that purpose is extremely obvious.